So Steve, you picked your 24-man squad for the Gillette Four Nations series. You had some difficult calls to make, but also you've been the bearer of some good news this morning.
Yeah, some real difficult calls. I think it was not a lot to choose between a number of players, which is how it should be when you're picking your international team. But really happy with the 24-man squad that we've got. We've obviously got a few players who are absent through injuries and so on, but the 24 what are selected, great strength, great balance, and we're looking forward to working with the group.
In a nutshell, how would you sum up your squad?
Balanced, I think it's probably the best word. I think experienced players, some young players, some really consistent players, some real flair players, and a real balance in every department.
And obviously, you in the halves now. There's some real resources there for you. That must have been a tough area to make a call.
It was, and it's thankfully for the first time, for quite a while now, we've had to leave some players out who, in those positions, who really would stake a claim to being at any other stage. And we've got some halves who are in great form, and like I said, then the combination of those halves is very important as well.
Let's move on to some notable omissions. Joel Tompkins, one of them. Rugby, also a great performer at the grand final. What can you tell us about those two missing out?
Yeah, I think Rob's been in super form, particularly the second half of the season, and probably particularly over the last 2 months of that second half of the season, and a sensational game on Saturday night. But Rob was unavailable for selection due to injury, with some rib injuries. What he's got and has been playing with, so. Rob couldn't be considered for selection. Joel Tompkins has asked me not to be considered for selection due to some personal reasons that he has.
And Michael Shenton obviously went off injured with a dislocated elbow, I think it was, in the grand final. He's a big loss for you guys as well as Saints on the night.
Yeah, again, he was a huge loss to the St Helens team, and a terrible injury that Michael suffered. He's fractured his elbow. They've managed to get back in the dressing room, but they're thinking there's going to be some more damage as well. So Michael again was another player who was unavailable for selection.
And a very strong Leeds presence in this England side, and two, well, relatively new faces. You've got Ryan Bailey in there and Carl Ablett too. Yeah,
I think the presence of the Leeds players replicates the form that team has been in, particularly in the run into the end of the season, all the way from probably prior to the Challenge Cup final, to be fair, but particularly since the Challenge Cup final and the run to the final. So it's a great credit to their club, and 6 of those 7 players being produced by their own academy system is fantastic testament to all the hard work that gets put in underneath what you see at first team level. And I think in Ryan Bailey, again, the form he's shown has been outstanding, and the physical presence that he's shown is very good. And Carl Ablett is just a player who is just consistently good, week in, week out, covers 2 positions, back row and centre, and will be an invaluable member of our squad.
And these 24 players, they come together down in Loughborough on Wednesday, is it?
They do. Both our England squad and our England night squad meet up at Loughborough on Wednesday. We're in camp for 3 days before the England team break for the weekend. The Knights are obviously in camp for 3 days before they go on and play France next Saturday at Lee. And for the Knights players, there is still an opportunity to break into the elite squad. We've picked our 24 players now, and that's what we would ideally like to go with. But as what happens with training, there's always some injuries, or potentially some injuries, and we've got a game against France to get through as an England squad as well. So the Knights players have got a lot to play for in their own right in terms of the games against France and Cumbria. But certainly, I'll certainly be keeping a close eye on them in case we need any of those to be called up for selection.
How tough a job was it to whittle it down to 24 in the end then?
Very tough, very, very tough. I think, as with all the other squads with Australia and New Zealand, we've had a host of players who are injured at this stage of the season. It's just part and parcel of the job, part and the nature of the game. But to even actually get the numbers we had left and get that down to 24, and I think if you look at the strength of the night squad coming through, we're putting ourselves in a far better position now than we have been in the past.